at the moment.
Well, welcome everyone to our panel. Our topic today is She Let's Go, redefining womanhood without the pressure to be perfect. And I'm so honored to be here with these incredible women who each bring a unique voice and a lived experience to the theme of letting go. This conversation is for any woman who has ever felt crushing the weight of having to have it all together and is ready to rewrite that narrative. Today we'll be exploring what it means to choose presence over perfection, softness over pressure, and how we can return to ourselves with more compassion and clarity. So let's take a collective breath. Ladies, let's all take a deep breath. And then we're ready to begin. So our first question to our panel is, what does presence over perfection really look like in real life?
Michelle, did you want us to move around and introduce ourselves before the questions, or
I think that's actually a really good idea. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, ladies, Afra, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, 100%. Totally honored to be here today with a wonderful, incredible panelists that I had the privilege of meeting in our last panel. My name is Afra Ronan. I'm a trauma-informed coach. I'm a founder of 𝐒𝐴T𝐞 Trauma and Relationship Coaching and Education. People always ask me why relationships, and the answer is quite simple, because trauma doesn't really happen in vacuum. It happens in relationships, and also the healing can happen in relationships. So whether we relate to other people or we relate to ourselves, in that dynamic, it's where trauma lives, and that's exactly where the repair can begin. And I think it's beautifully linked to today's topic about letting go, because we're letting go of perfection and pressure to perform, pleasing other people around you. So when you live with trauma, especially complex trauma or relational trauma, you become expert in adaptation, right? We read the room before we read ourselves. We shape shift just to be palatable, to be safe. We become who we think we should be. The calm one, the teacher, the kind person, the fixer. But performing those roles actually really slow down. They slowly disconnect us from ourselves and from our impulses, from our voices. And letting go is really ask us to become aware of what's keeping us stuck in survival. So because trauma is not just a story in the mind, but in the body, it's in memories and emotions. When we come back to our body, this is actually where we start releasing. And, if I couldn't find myself personally that way home to myself, to the version that I've always was, but forgotten, then I would just keep on repeating those patterns of toxic relationship again and again and again, just in the new outfit. So guiding women through transformation of those patterns of trauma, in attachment, in communication, self-trust is what I do. And because healing is not just personal, it's always relational. Thank you.
Beautiful, very lovely. 𝐒𝐞𝐿, would you mind sort of introducing yourself and maybe just letting us know also, what does presence over perfection really look like in real life?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking, and really, really privileged to be among these incredible panelists. Elena, thank you so much for organizing this space, and Michelle for hosting, Charlotte and Ofra for your expertise and for your presence as well. And I am an empowerment coach and meditation teacher, helping women to overcome their self-sabotaging patterns, building emotional resilience, intelligence, mental mastery, so we can all step into our power unapologetically. Because, traditionally, we have always apologized for even being, for even taking space. And I really feel that, just that conversation we were having a little while ago, Ofra, that we as women, if we are resilient, we can raise resilient kids, we can contribute to the resilience of our community and then to the world as well. So my work, really, I'm very passionate about, empowering women so we can empower our generations to come. So we can actually start breaking these patterns that we carry from generation to generation. Like, we have to stop that, right? And it is not about being selfish or self-centered. That's definitely not what it is. It is just that when we are comfortable in our own bodies, in our own mind, and we accept who we are as we are, then we give others the permission to do that as well. And then there is that beautiful equality that happens. And that's what I'm really passionate about. So yeah, to your question, exactly, Michelle. And I think it really is about, it isn't about performance. The presence is not about performance, right? It is how we relate to ourselves when nobody is watching. It is the words we say to ourselves when something goes wrong. Quite often, we are very dismissive about ourselves, very critical about ourselves. Oh my God, I'm so, I'm really bad at this. Why did I do this? I could have done better. So we are constantly chastising ourselves. Whereas if we bring that compassion to ourselves, that it's okay because we are human, and we are allowed to make mistakes, and there is perfection, to my mind, is a myth. It is only progress, and it is only presence. So in those moments, even as a meditation teacher, my work is to help my clients come home. It's more like a homecoming, not as a goal, but just being present. And a little tool that people, our audience and all of us, can really use is taking those three, it's really simple, taking 3 deep breaths and just grounding ourselves in that moment. Is anytime we start to feel the weight of our body, of our emotions, of our feelings, just coming back to our breath, taking those deep breaths and releasing and letting go, and then asking ourselves, am I trying to be perfect, or can I be more compassionate towards myself and be more present?
I think I've actually seen something on YouTube, and they were saying that if you take 3 deep breaths, that actually kind of stops anxiety in its whatever's going on. It just puts a pause on it or
tracks,
stops
because
it.
what it does is, yeah, absolutely, Michelle, you're absolutely right. Because what the deep breathing does is it activates our parasympathetic nervous system. So it calms our vagus nerve down. And that is when it really helps with the anxiety. So you're right.
Beautiful. And apparently singing helps as well. And I love singing, so that's perfect.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, 𝐒𝐞𝐞. Charlotte, would you be able to please introduce yourself and please, yes, share with us, what are your thoughts about presence over perfection and, what it looks like in real life, not on TV, not on YouTube or Netflix or Hollywood. How do we choose presence over perfection?
Well, lovely to be here with everybody. I'm a medical herbalist and a healer. And so I use herbs a lot, and diet and supplements and things to help people with their health, physical health, mental health, emotional health. So yes, what about presence over perfection? It's a very different mindset. It's a completely different mindset from perfection over presence. And it allows us to be freer to set our own rules rather than live by other people's rules. It is a very different place because it's a calmer place. So it means that it's easier to make the right decisions for you in the long term when you're working from that part of your brain, the frontal cortex, which comes online when you're not stressed. And if you're living from moment to moment and you're seeing your life, living your life in each moment, it's much easier to make those really good decisions. I'm sure you've all hopped into the car, maybe from going from home to work, or you're going to the supermarket to buy food for dinner, and you get to your destination and you think, I can't remember driving here. I can't even remember, because you've basically been somewhere else, you've been offline. And so being present allows you to really enjoy all those moments. But what does it mean in reality? So say, for example, you wake up in the morning, but you're late because the alarm didn't go off. And you're thinking, oh my God. So instead of rushing up straight away, you take a breath, you sit on the side of the bed and you think, right, okay, just calm down, just calm down. And you take a few moments and you think, okay, well, do you know, does it really matter if I get to the gym a little bit late? Or if you have children who are old enough, you might think, maybe they can get their own breakfast and then we'll get to school on time. Or maybe a friend calls and every time you speak to this friend, you feel inspired, you feel energized, it changes your day in a positive way. And you think, but I'm too busy. I'm just too busy. Just take a breath, be in the present moment and just tell her, yeah, I've got 5 minutes, but I've only got 5 minutes. And it can set the tone of your whole day. So being present changes your life in a myriad of ways. And it's a really, it's a positive way to live.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true.
Can I just add something quickly,
yes,
Michelle, to this? I think just one thing that really exemplified the difference between presence and perfection is that we all know that perfection is a survival strategy. Yeah, we do that because it gives us the illusion of control. And with presence is actually brings us to the safety that is the basic of connection. So what brings us to connection is presence as opposed to perfection. And this is the difference. One is an illusionary control mechanism, and control wouldn't get us to connection, whilst being present in our body already is connecting to oneself. And once I've connected to myself, I can connect to you. And I think that this is something that if we remember, we understand really the benefit of presence in our lives.
Is it kind of like, putting the mask on yourself first before you put the mask on the others?
Completely.
So, yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And also, so next we've got our wonderful Elena Sakova, who is one of the leaders in our Socialites community and has been fabulous in organizing our wonderful panels. Elena, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what are your thoughts about presence over perfection?
Thank you, such a warm introduction, and it's actually an honor to organize these events. I know it's a bit of time and wealth, but once we're here and once we're here or being present, it makes all the difference. So I'm a compassionate lawyer. I've got a background in family law, and I'm also a mediator. So what I'm focused on at the moment is assisting other women to navigate through separation and beyond, because I find it is probably the most critical and probably the darkest time of their life sometimes. And sometimes it's something, what Ofra mentioned, beyond their control. So I guess for me, there's such an important question, I guess, from two folds as well. So from professional point of view, I've in the past, I've been in a lot of corporates, and you find that perfection was demanded. You have to be perfect. Well, what you find is when you're out there in the real life, when you're not in a corporate, you realize presence is more important. And I think with my line of work, dealing with, I guess, what I would find quite a lot of women are already mothers and parents, and they've got children. They're so, I guess, focused about being the perfect parent. I mean, I personally think perfect parent doesn't exist, because at the end of the day, I mean, there's so much information out there and statistics. Even those families are so well off. They go on fancy holidays, they've got the latest European cars, they will even mentions. But when they ask the children, all they want is to spend time with their children, with their parents, whether it's mom or dad. So even though, I mean, we kind of strive to say, I need to make more money, or, I need a bigger car, or, whatever it is, what do you find what the children actually do want is for the parent to be present, to be themselves. And I think that's Ofra just mentioned that point, which was really good at, choosing connection over control. And I think that's what it brings to. So really what's really important out there is connecting, whether it's your children, whether it's your parents, your siblings, even us being in this space, in this forum, just a connection as well. We don't need to be perfect. We show up as we are. And I think for me, it's what I find is something I'm passionate about is empowering other women. And part of that empowerment is pretty much saying show up as you are and to be comfortable, to be accepted. None of us are perfect. And I think perfect is boring, because perfect is polished. You're so conscious of what people are basically think of you or judging you. So I think that's really important. I personally had an experience now that I'm in the public eye. It took me a while to go public on Facebook. And I'm a very private person, because coming from a corporate background, I always thought I had to be perfect. No, the video has to be perfect. My hair has to be perfect. I did put a lot of effort today, by the way. But other than that, it's just at the back of our minds, we'll always have to be perfect on camera. And what I found is having this raw videos when I just walk in the park and there's a wind and I had a hoodie on and it was raining and everyone loved it. They said, we love seeing the real you. And I think it's just confirmation that people want to see authentic you. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be real.
But I also think that sometimes, okay, yes, perfection is great. But, how boring would life be if everything was always perfect? It would be boring, because really it's the journey I feel that's the most important thing. And I was talking to my business coach the other day, and I said to him, look, I've been working really, really hard, and I'm like, I'm exhausted, but I know I need to keep going more. And he was like, you're actually doing really, really well. And then he sent to me this little quote. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it says, success is 1% luck, 1% talent, and 98% never giving up. So to me, that's about, being present, showing up, and constantly moving forward. No matter what, you're always moving forward, trying to get there. But then, I feel like I just never get there. It's like always the constant journey, but I guess that's all a part of it, right? So moving along, ladies, to the next question is, how do we start letting go of roles and expectations that don't serve us? I'd be interested to actually know what you guys think are some of those expectations that we should, let go of as well. Should we go back around, the way, Elena, would you like to go first? Would you like to let us know what your thoughts are about that? Like what we sort of, because we take on so many roles that sometimes we didn't always consciously choose. Caretaker, peacemaker, overachiever, where do we begin and how do we let go of what no longer serves us?
I think it's such an important question as well. And someone who's what I call a perfectionist in recovery. Sometimes you have to remind yourself it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be good enough. So I think it's just the effort as well. We're not machines. We're doing the best we can. And sometimes it's, I think, was it Offred they mentioned, or was it 𝐒𝐞𝐞, self-compassion? So I think self-compassion is so important to realize we can't always have perfect days or good days. Sometimes we have I'm barely managing days, and that's okay, because that's part of life. You're getting tired, especially by Friday afternoon, everyone's exhausted because they had a really long.
You're still showing up, so that's good, right?
And we're here, exactly. So I think part of it is, I guess, that holding that space for yourself, to give yourself the permission to basically be yourself, and know that you cannot always, I guess, be 100%. And I think what Michelle mentioned, I love that 98% of not giving up. Not giving up, you show up. And I think that's really important. And I think in terms of, in terms of expectations as well, is I think we're always so keen on performing. I have to admit, I'm guilty of that, always performance as well. And sometimes just know that, what are you doing is enough. And I think that's just something to remind yourself. There's a lot of expectations out there anywhere you go, whether it's work environment, society, it could be family. Everyone always has high expectations, but your expectations should be what's good enough for you. And I think with the clients that I work with, they always want to do 100% perfect, perfect right, or that's the expectation. Okay. And I think what's important is to have your own expectations. And I think that that's what I call a realistic ones. And that's, I find a lot of women that I come across and, you know, they say you should do this or should do that. I'm not a big fan of the word should. I think it's, you know, what are you comfortable with? I always say, what are you comfortable with? What can you live with? And I think that's important, because you cannot be influenced by society, what the expectations are, because they are what I find mostly unrealistic. It's, you know, what are you comfortable with, and kind of being yourself as well.
It's amazing. That's really, really good. And yeah, I completely agree. You know, we wear so many different hats, and we just need to find what's right for us, be kind, and yeah, lead ourselves, with that compassion. Charlotte, what are your thoughts? I mean, what do you think are some expectations that, we do put on ourselves that we could maybe let go of?
I think we put on many, many expectations that are totally unnecessary, but I'm going to turn it on its head and say, I think it's really important to start with your physical health, because if you don't have energy, how on earth are you going to change? If you don't have the physical strength and the clear-sightedness that you need, how are you going to change on other levels? How are you going to really look at the roles and expectations and clearly decide what you like, what you don't like, what's working for you and what's not working for you? So practically, I would say, of course, we all know, eat well, and I know you may be exhausted, you may be tired, you don't feel you can cook easily, but at least maybe try and find, pesticide-free produce or organic produce or something, just have the right sort of food in the cupboards, just in case you have that little bit of extra energy. Water, hydrate, be hydrated. When you wake up in the morning, the best thing you can do straight after you brush your teeth is to drink water. Have a large glass of water. Your digestion is going to be so happy with you for the rest of the day. It's going to work really well for you as well. Herbs. What about herbs? Support your nervous system, because then you are clear enough to be able to start making these changes. For example, you could make a lemon balm tea, if you're somebody who is, feeling anxious, feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed, and it's affecting your tummy, affecting your digestion. That's a really good one. Or valerian is one of my favorite herbs, which is fantastic in lower doses for anxiety and overwhelm during the day. And then at night, if you're not sleeping or you're waking up consistently during the night, it's amazing. It works brilliantly well. Now, it doesn't smell very nice, I must admit. So I apologize in advance for anyone that takes it and goes, oh no. Cats love it, but humans don't like it quite so much. But anyway, and also when you've had a lot of overwhelm or you've had burnout, then often your adrenal glands are fatigued. So again, you could take something like licorice tea, because it helps to restore the adrenal glands. So I think if you start there, you can then start moving on to look really clearly looking at, how you would like to change things. And then the other thing is, remember that whenever you go through trauma, whenever you go through stresses, strains, and the perfectionism that a lot of us have, the legacy is left in our bodies. The legacy is left. So in traditional Chinese medicine, we find that the organs are paired with emotions. So for example, often the perfectionism can be a fear of letting people down, not reaching the level that you expect of yourself and others expect of you. And so in traditional Chinese medicine, fear is held in the kidneys. So work on the kidneys, somatically. So maybe with healing or using a visualization or something like that. You might find, for example, you're getting flashes of frustration or anger or irritation, and that's the liver. So then you can work on the liver. So I think if you start there, then you have the space to be able to really discern how you want to move forward, what you want to live with, and what you want to change.
Charlotte, do you think that reflexology would help those sorts of things as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, be brilliant.
Okay, beautiful, lovely, very nice, very nice. 𝐒𝐞𝐞, what are your thoughts about, letting go of roles and expectations that don't serve us anymore? And perhaps maybe do you have some ideas on, what we can do to remove or to let go of those sorts of things?
Thank you, Michelle, and completely acknowledging what Elena and Charlotte have shared as well. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves, then we internalize that pressure, and that comes from a place of protection. We use it as a strategy, as self-protection. I will be accepted when I do this, or if I do this, I will be good enough, I will be accepted, I will be loved. And this comes from the culture, it comes from being perfect, again, as we coming back to being perfectionist parenting, it comes from that. And also, from workplace systems. So all these expectations are coming from, as we can see, from this culture scape. Vishen Lekhani from Mind Valley uses this concept of culture scape, which is that we are influenced by whatever is outside of us, whatever our parents have taught us, whatever we have seen, like our friends doing it. There's a lot of social comparison that we can subconsciously imbibe as well, and then we put those expectations on ourselves, and before we know, we go down that spiral that we even forget who we really are or what do we want, right? We become so disconnected from where we are. So I think a really easy way to start is just by raising that inquiry with yourself, just asking yourself, is this my expectation or is it somebody else's? Now, when I have done that kind of questioning with myself from a very gentle and very non-judgmental kind of a way, I have a lot of the times heard that, it is coming from my parents. It is coming from my mom. It is coming from, the things that we heard when we were growing up. And that subconsciously I had embraced that I need to do this, and then I'll be good enough, or you need to do all of these things to be good enough. So those roles and those expectations are coming from all of our conditioning, the social conditioning that we have all gone through. And really what we really need to start is just layer by layer, just going within and asking those questions, having that sacred space to yourself. I feel in a really, really practical tip is make space for yourself every single day. Doesn't have to be very long, because if we say, oh, I need 1 hour for myself, and that's not going to happen. We know that as working parents, as moms, as we wear so many different hats, we may not have that. But if you tell yourself just 10 minutes, either in the morning or at night, sitting with yourself, taking a few deep breaths, and then asking, like, all these expectations that I am putting on myself, are they really my expectations? And if they are not, right, what can I let go of? And the answers are really all within us. And slowly, slowly, we will begin to know that, okay, I probably don't have to have an absolutely spick and span house all the time. I can let go of that because that was my mom's expectation, but I'm not living my mom's life. And this is my life. So, it's going to look different. And this is just and similarly, as moms, our first instinct is, oh, I'm just going to do it because it's easier. It's easier for me to do it. So I'm not even going to ask for help. But how does that serve us? And again, coming back to that question, that are these expectations that I am putting on myself, are the roles, different roles that I am taking on, are they serving me? And if not, what can I do to let go of some of that? And it is a conscious process. Unless we do things consciously, we are just going to stay on that, hamster wheel. So definitely making time for yourself, and asking your questions to yourself from a place of compassion, from a place of kindness, and from a place that I want to do better for myself, because then I can do better, as I was saying earlier, better for my family, better for my community, and then overall world. So that's what I would.
I don't know if you guys think that this is a good idea, but something that I do is that, when I am feeling overwhelmed and I've just got so much to do, like I'll write my list, but then I just try to be kind to myself, and I just say, look, I'll just take the next step. And then after that, I'll just take the next step. So I try to break it down and take off the pressure and make it, cut it down into sort of, smaller chunks so it's easier to, deal with. What are your thoughts, Ofra? Do you think that's a nice way to sort of let go of that pressure? And, what are your thoughts about, letting go of expectations that, really, sometimes, yeah, we do carry things like expectations of our mothers or grandmothers, or, we carry, I guess in some ways it's really a burden because, we're carrying other people's things that are important to them, but they're not important to us. So how do we deal with that, and how do we let go?
Yeah, I first of all want to point out how much I love every speaker's take on that question and how we bring a lot of what we're passionate about into our answers. And it really reflects so beautifully the strength and the depth of each one of the speakers' areas. And for me, the question of letting go of a role, I just wanted to also point out that it's actually one of those really significant doorway to trauma healing. And the reason is because those roles and those masking is what really on the way are the barriers to us being us, to uncovering who we truly were before the trauma occurred. But in order to take that mask, what we really need to do is, first of all, the first step to be practical is notice the role that we're playing. And when we understood the role we were playing, we actually have to be really, really radically honest about what it's costing us. And just sitting in that honesty is a lot. It can take sometimes months until we've unpacked what are the pros and cons. Because the real thing is that those roles are complicated because they serve something. They're not just keeping us stuck and disconnected from our body, but they're also giving us the illusion that we're safe. They're also giving us the illusion of control. And so me sitting for years and years in a role of the fixer, the healer, the one that carries everything. I've been building businesses and I was crumbling inside, right? And I chose that unconsciously. It was a trauma response, that role that I was taking on myself, but it kept me safe, and it kept me disconnected at the same time. So I think that for me, understanding that letting go of that role, I needed to grieve because of the loss of all those things that it did serve me, and the ability to actually separate that part of my identity from who I knew that I can become, or who that person that was forgotten. And so, when we've named and realized all those things, then we can start finally take small little acts of rebellion, right? Saying no without explaining, letting that text sit there, unread, unanswered, not smoothing over someone else's discomfort, even taking space up before earning it. Let that sink in, right? These are the small steps of rebellion we can all do, because now we're really clear about why we want to get out of that phase. And it's like peeling off old garments, layer by layer, as 𝐒𝐞𝐞 said, until what's left is you, unfiltered. Yeah, and that's really the beginning of freedom.
So pretty much sort of, becoming really comfortable with yourself and loving yourself.
Mm.
And if I could
And I
add,
think just,
yes.
yeah, sorry, Elaine,
So
you go. Elaine,
I was
you go.
just keen to add, I think what a lot of women don't realize, and that's what I, kind of recently learned as well, is although we've got expectation, etc., and what Ofra said is accepting yourself as you are, what do you find is moving forward when you're being authentic self, yes, what I call the wrong people will drop off in your life and you'll attract the right people. I mean, us just being in this space is an example of when passionate about what you do, you're passionate about empowering other women, you'll find that like attract like, and you find this amazing and other, ladies that want to join and do the same. So I think don't be afraid to be yourself, because, okay, you might lose friendships, you might lose people that, might not align with you anymore, but it's like holding that light of torch, because when you find the right people will find you.
And I think also sometimes, along that journey, like we do make mistakes as well. But I guess you just need to embrace that and just, enjoy the next chapter. The next chapter, let's see what happens, So, yeah, I think that's really, really interesting. 𝐸𝐸𝐞𝐞, did you have something that you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what everybody said, was that asking yourself that all these, do I really need to be everything for everyone? Like bringing that radical honesty, as Ofra was saying, because we do have that, we have that internalized pressure and that delusionalism almost, that I need to be everything. I personally have been there, where I wanted to do everything for everyone, being the yes person for everyone, and the amount of, or like the weight that you carry, and you do not realize it until you start to let go of that weight, that, oh my God, where was I, like, how was I even operating under all that
Yeah.
weight? And it's really liberating, but it really comes from being comfortable with yourself and comfortable with letting go. I think that is really important. And again, as Ofra said, it comes from sitting in that discomfort, and it can take a long time. Like my journey has taken years, and it has, after a lot of inner work and a lot of investment in myself, but it's worth it. But it's really worth it. Yeah.
You definitely come out stronger in the end.
I also
100%.
think it's very much about being and giving yourself space to be rather than doing. It's, you don't, your identity is not based on what you do. It's based on who you are.
That's a very important distinction.
The next question is actually also very interesting, and then I have an extra little question for you guys. So the next question is, how can women rebuild their identity after burnout or breakdown? But as you all, obviously work with women, what does burnout and breakdown actually even look like? Because some people might be actually going through this and might not even realize that they're at that point, or they might be heading in that direction. But also, are there different levels as well within that? Who would like to go first?
Yeah.
I can see Ofra nodding her head. Ofra, do you want to go first?
Yeah, obviously, I'm just happy to share of my own personal living experience as an example. I also went through burnout and went through a complete fragmentation of my identity on various occasions. So 2021, when I've separated from my then narcissistic partner, I felt like my entire world was smashing into pieces. Yeah? Nothing made sense anymore. Nothing was certain. There were no anchors. I couldn't remember what I liked doing. I couldn't remember my own strength. I really had no idea where I was going, how would I able to take the first step forward? It was absolutely terrifying. And I realized, it took me almost 3 years after that to realize that burnouts and breakdowns, they're not just collapses, they're also thresholds. It kind of marks the end of the version that you were, that you've never meant to carry for so long, so heavy. And so realizing that it wasn't my failure, that it was a bit of a truth teller, the entire experience, helped me to starting the building of the identity in terms of returning, not really returning back to how we were, but being that whole lot of better version that is actually true and it's actually authentic. You know, I ask myself a question that I ask my clients a lot. I ask this: if I don't have to earn my worth, who do I want to be? You know? And so you then start listening. You're listening to the quiet part that says, I'm not okay. And then you have the other parts that want slowness and softness and solitude. And then there is another part that comes, and they might be the angry part, or the one that wants more. And then we just become curious to those parts, you know. I'm asking questions like, where did I learn that I wasn't allowed to be that version of myself? You know, what story am I carrying? Where does that story come from? And so I felt that the real healing was really when I was able to gather all those exiled parts in me, the angry, the soft, the lost one, and to invite them back to the table, you know, and allow them to have a voice, give them some compassion. And then slowly, once you glue those parts together, you feel finally, after so long, that you become that coherent person again, you know, not just collection of fragments, but self that kindly move forward with clarity and self-trust that we lost. And I think, you know, identity after burnout is less about rebuilding and is more about remembering, you know, and then reweaving those parts back to what was left in order to create that cohesive person that was reborn. That's about it.
Wow, yes, yeah, it's really important, very important. Yeah, to remember who we are. You know, we only live once, so we've got to make the most of it and not forget ourselves. Charlotte, would you like to go next? You know, what are your thoughts about, you know, women rebuilding their identity, you know, after burnout or breakdown?
I think when you find that your nerves are stretched and it's difficult to think clearly, it's difficult to actually take the space to enjoy life because you don't think you've got time. That's burnout, or at least moving towards it anyway. And I actually agree with all that Ofra said, the whole thing. I think that it's very difficult to deal with a lot because it's very uncomfortable. To actually sit there and really go deep and rather than sort of keep on the surface is a very, very hard thing. And you need really good support with it because you need either a therapist or some sort of somebody, anyway, psychologist, or even a friend who understands, who can just sit there with you or be there with you. And I think it's the hardest thing. And I think that's why a lot of people find it very difficult to go there. A lot of people actually don't go there because it's too difficult. And I think that having discussions like this is really important because there are people there to help you. We've all been through it ourselves, I'm sure. I have, certainly, Fra has as well. So we know what it's like. And we know we needed also to reach out for that help. And the help is different for different people. But you do need that help. It's hard to do it on your own. And it's a very courageous thing to do, to face what's actually going on so that you can heal and move forward.
Yeah, it's very important. I think sometimes just talking to somebody what's going on or actually just verbalizing all the stuff that's happening it actually creates a automatic lift because you're like, ah, I got that all out. Oh my gosh, I've been holding that in for so long. Like, wow, you know. So, and I do, I agree that people need to find what's right for them, but they do need to find an avenue to offload and, verbalize, what's going on, for them. Elena, would you like to sort of tell us a little bit about your thoughts about when it comes to burnout or breakdown? I guess, you probably sometimes, see women sometimes, obviously at their most vulnerable when, the whole world is sort of, collapsing. What are your thoughts about that?
Certainly. I think for me, I've always looked at it. I'm an optimist, always have been. So to me, whether it's a burnout or breakdown, I always ask people, is it a breakdown or a breakthrough? I think a lot of women in particular don't realize what might feel like a breakdown, or your whole life collapsing in a split moment. Sometimes that could be your breakthrough in a way of resetting. It's like a reset button. So to me, it's just an opportunity to say, okay, that didn't go to plan, and unfortunately, that's sometimes how life is. Sometimes we cannot anticipate the events that do happen. So I'll always encourage them to see it. What if it is your chance to rebuild your life from scratch, as in the way that you want to live as well. And I think for me, what's really important if someone does go through burnout, I mean, obviously, if someone needs professional help, they definitely need to reach out. And I'm a big advocate for professional help. But those that are maybe just going through the doubts or a bit of moments where they're thinking, okay, what's next? I'll always look at it as rebuilding it with small wins. I mean, to me personally, I'm a busybody. I'm always on the go. To me, as what 𝐒𝐞𝐞 was saying previously, actually, that 10 minutes, just walking, whether it's, I think it's walking meditation, they call it, just going for a walk in the park or just sitting there in the park for 10 minutes. If that's all you have, that's a win. You started with a positive. I've intentionally, actually, with promoting our panel today, I intentionally had to go outside because I'm at the computer most of the day or driving. And I thought, today will be different because I'll record something in the park as an example. You've got that 10 minutes, you're in the park, you're just enjoying nature. I actually enjoy recording it because I'm thinking, oh, how nice is it outside? Just a small win as well. Not, no matter how hard life is as well. And what I find as well, I think with women, when they are going through a very hard time in their life as well, it's that ability to make them feel safe. Because what I find whilst when women are feeling safe or being heard or being seen, because a lot of them have not been seen for years, it gives them an opportunity to rise. And I think that's what it is. I mean, I'm a big, so with my company, I was very particular saying, well, how do I name my business that it's, empowers women? And I chose Elenix because to me, it's like Elena, it's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. And I think that's so important because at the end of the day, when you're going through a really hard separation, and I've got a lived experience myself, so Ofra can relate. And sometimes it makes you, breaks you, and I chose for it to make me. So I thought, okay, I have risen from the ashes, and I'm going to help other women to do the same. And I think it's so important just to recognize it might not be ideal or not perfect. The circumstances are not perfect, but what if this is your opportunity to rebuild your life in the way you always wanted to? So I guess I am an optimist, but sometimes it's small wins. It doesn't need to be, the whole big shebang straight away. Small win. What can you do for yourself today just to rebuild your life, or perhaps even rebuild your confidence in your future moving forward?
And I really love that. And I think it's really important to even, when you are perhaps maybe feeling at your lowest, to sort of, flick that switch and look at it from a positive perspective. My dad actually used to always say that no matter what happens, something better is waiting for you around the corner. So, as long as we sort of do the work, get the help that we need, get the support, get our friends to, rally around us, then, we can get through anything, and definitely we can all be phoenixes rising no matter what. So I love that. And I actually love your logo as well. I love that phoenix. It's very good. 𝐒𝐞𝐞, I mean, you help, lots of women with, getting themselves together, making themselves stronger, putting themselves in a better position to sort of, perhaps overcome or not even get to, burnout or breakdown. What are your thoughts, about women who perhaps maybe have gone through that? How do you feel that they should, rebuild themselves? What do they need to do to care and look after themselves so that they're in that, ultimate position?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And it is my own personal lived experience that, has been really transformative for me, not even realizing that I was so burnt out. And when you are in that situation, you just keep going, right? And it is when you start to see, you will start to feel it in your body, like we all start to feel it in our body, because our body is such an incredibly intelligent or like space that tells us. I would have this deep anxiety in my stomach that I would wake up at 3 in the morning and feel that in my stomach, right? And uh, literally dragging myself to work every day and feeling that tiredness in my body. So I think being really aware of your own somatic system, like your own body, and being able to listen to your body, because your body will tell you before your mind does. Your body will tell you. And then, as Elena was saying, small steps all the way. I am all for taking one small step, and whatever that looks like for you, whether it is 5 minutes of meditation, if you can do more, awesome. Physical exercise is really, really important because it releases a lot of pent up energy in our body. That is really, really important. Spending time in nature, getting sunshine, like these may seem really, small, frivolous. Sometimes people might think, oh, it's all wishy-washy stuff. It's not, it's all scientifically proven. Now, imagine if we were to be able to build a little routine for ourselves, like 5-10 minutes of meditation, for example, or breath work, and then, spending 10 minutes in nature, going for a quick walk around the block while, getting sun, getting some exercise. And as Charlotte was saying earlier, then eating well, because when we are in that, when we are in the burnout stage, we are almost in a freeze kind of a state in our body, and then we forget to nourish our body, we forget to look after ourselves. So they're really coming back to basics. That is the most, I personally think, is a really good place to start, is returning to basics. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just coming back to start nourishing your body, your soul, and your mind. And you will, like, I noticed with myself that there were a lot of relationships that I let go of, that automatically disappeared from my life, because you are growing, you are changing, and you are just asking yourself that what am I carrying forward with myself. And my whole journey, actually, to be a meditation teacher and a coach to empower others, started from that place where I was, and I really wanted to empower others to feel this, to feel that they can come on the other side, come out on the other side feeling that much more stronger, empowered. And I just want to give our audience like a really small tool that they can take. It is like called 3 R's, which is asking yourself, release, what am I ready to release. And second R is reveal. Looking within your body, and what part is ready to be revealed in our body, like within us, what is asking to be revealed right now. And then third is to reclaim, again coming back to that truth. What am I going to take forward with me? So just remembering those 3 R's of release, reveal, and reclaim. So, and that will provide you a really simple and easy framework and thinking basics to support yourself. And absolutely agree with everyone, cannot emphasize enough the need to take support from others. Please don't try to do everything yourself because you don't need to. There is support available. Whatever sings out to your heart, reach out to whether it is a therapist, whether it is a coach, whether it is a friend. Yeah, please seek help.
Yes, that's really, really important. And I guess it kind of, so the next question I think will actually help us tie, everything together. The next question is, what daily rituals help women stay grounded, calm, and clear? And I actually, I love, all the ideas and, some of the simple tips as well that you gave sort of to pick up. But I know that myself personally, after, I've worked a full day, I've tried to be there, for my team, and then obviously, I do other community things as well. I actually feel like a little bit guilty stopping to do something for myself because I feel like, oh my God, I've done so many things. Now it's my family time. And then, I've still got all these things that I need to do around the house. And I kind of feel like, I mean, I guess it's cold at the moment as well. And I keep saying to myself that I'm going to start, taking my dog for a walk. But my husband's like, oh, I think the dog's going to be taking you for a walk. And I'm like, that's a possibility. Yes, eating well. And, I'm pretty much like working 24/7. So I very rarely even go outside to get a bit of sun during the week, which, I have a beautiful place here, which I could step outside. But I have this tremendous amount of guilt, like stopping and doing something for myself. So do you guys have any, rituals that could help, ladies who are watching this, that will help them stay grounded, calm, clear, and perhaps maybe a little bit less guilty? Who would like to go first?
Yes,
Have I given you a challenge?
I can go first if you like.
Of course, go for it.
I think for me, the biggest skill I needed to find a way to build was how to listen to the body before we override it. Because when you get to that burnout, it's too late. When you're completely exhausted and when you had one of those days, Michelle, that you've given, and you reach that end of the day, you expect too much of yourself, of dropping it all and stepping into a me mode. So we don't want that. So rather than actually wait until we're completely depleted, we do maintenance and check-ins. So I'm a big ritual kind of a person, and I separate to two different things. One is maintenance check-in, and one is SOS rescue practices. Both of them come from the same essence of DAMR, and basically means drop, attune, move, and release. So I want to take 2 minutes to do something with everybody. It won't be too long. Feel free to stand up if you like, if you can, and also women in the audience. You don't have to. I'm hoping that my camera can just show me as well. And all we're going to do is just put our hand on our chest, close our eyes for a second, and take a deep breath. And what we want to do, I call it embodied diagnostics. I want to feel how my body is. And you can do that, Michelle, maybe in your lunch break, instead of being our host, maybe tomorrow between 12 to 1. Just take a few moments, close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and ask yourself, what do I need now? What does Michelle need right now? And you're listening. You're listening to any place in your body that is tight, that is uncomfortable. And what we want to do from now is actually we want to move. So we want to start shaking. It's going to look really funny. And if you've never done it before, don't worry. We're going to look a little bit awkward. But we're just going to start shaking our body right now, shaking our shoulders, moving our head from one side to another, letting our head really, really get floppy, shaking our head, our legs a little bit, pay attention to our knees. Just really, really shake it, feeling grounded, very, very heavy, our feet installed in the floor, and just shaking our body all over. this basically brings about information. It's a reset of our energy. I stop for a second, I'm going like, oh, actually here in my lower abdomen, there is a bit of a pain. What's going on there? Then I might be working on my hip a little bit more to move it, right? And just really, really shaking it. And that was all the demonstration for today. So you're most welcome to sit down again. But the reason why
That
I
was
love it,
beautiful. Thank you. I love that.
you're most welcome. It's really super easy. It's movement with breath. You're opening your body and you're opening the channel for you to listen to what is going in the inside and give us a little bit of a nudges, you know, give it some love, some compassion. It's just all encompassing little exercise. And just a quick one for the SOS, anyone that is anxiety, feeling like a panic attack is coming up. If you have a pillow, just happen to prepare one here before. My camera a little bit. You know how we love co-regulation with other safe humans, to us, our partners, our children. When we have a pillow and we're hugging it, we can also co-regulate with a pillow. And we just basically go with breathing of 4 in, very deep breath. We stop 2 seconds. Then we exhale for 6. And what we do that, we support ourselves both for co-regulation with a pillow, and we send a signal to the nervous system that we're safe, that everything is good, and it can go back to be balanced. So that was an SOS kind of a practice. And with time, as you go through it, you find out how much maintenance you need to do versus how many crisis practices you need to do. And everyone has their own mix.
Yes. I guess that's why I think I've seen online a lot of people are selling, you know, those koalas that kind of shake, and they say that if people have anxiety, they're a good thing to go to sleep with because they help you sort of regulate during the night.
Yeah, my partner
I
has
thought,
one.
oh, that sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, and they love it. Absolutely.
And I think a lot of
Yeah.
adults still sleep with a little cuddly pillow. Like, you know, like even, you know, you don't have to be a child. It's just, I don't know if that helps you kind of feel comfortable or safe.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
100%.
Funny actually, because I
Yeah.
went to a business meeting recently, and on the table were all these games, you know, this is, you know, like Rubik's cubes and all these different things. And then we were sort of talking business, but we were all just going, you know, and it was just fantastic. It made you able to think more clearly.
It's a very neurodivergent thing. In every safe zone that you are with neurodivergent people, we are always with fidgety toys, and it helps us focus. Yeah, fantastic.
Actually, I've got something to add on to that brilliant exercise, which will help you to hone in and tune in even more to your intuition. Scientists recently have found out that we have a little brain in our heart. Amazing, right? So we have our brain in our head, but we have this brain in our heart. And it appears to be the access to our higher self, or as scientists say, bigger self, because higher self is a little bit sort of new age. And so if we connect with our heart, we actually can know things and sense things and pick up things earlier than if we use our brain, our head brain. So one way to help you do that, and also interestingly, the heart can help you make really wise decisions as well. So one way to do that is, and I like to do it in the morning, but you can do it at any time, is to bring your attention to your heart. And I think if you put your hands on your heart, it makes that easier to do. So you bring your attention down into your heart space. And instead of breathing in and out through your nose and through your mouth, you imagine breathing in and out of your chest. So in and out through your heart. And you don't need to do that for very long to feel that release of pressure, that attention, the real attention in your heart now. And then after that, just think of one thing you're grateful for. It can be something very small. The fact you live near the beach and you can walk on the beach every day. You've got a pet you love. You know, you're going on holiday next week. It doesn't matter what it is. You've just eaten your favourite lunch. But just think of something you're grateful for just for a few moments. And what it does is it regulates, self-regulates your heart, which is called heart rate variability. So it does that. And it also helps your overall health on all levels, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually.
That's great. That's really lovely. It's kind of like giving yourself a bit of a hug, right? You know, that
That's
feels
exactly
nice.
absolutely, and that's you just spot on, Michelle, because that's exactly what I was going to share was, and I have personally practiced it and practice it even now, is giving yourself, like, just putting your arms around you and giving yourself a hug like you would hug your child if you have children, or your friend or your mom, whoever you feel connected to, like with the same amount of intention and affection, and just give yourself that hug and say, it's okay, you are doing your best, and I am so proud of you. Like taking that moment to connect with your own self. Absolutely love the heart rate variability and the exercise that Ofra shared as well. But I have found just standing in the bathroom for a minute in front of the mirror and giving myself a hug, especially if you've come from a really difficult situation, maybe a difficult conversation, and taking that moment to breathe, connect with your breath, give yourself a hug, it makes a world of difference. So just
And
a really small, simple
yeah, I'm
practice.
pretty sure I've read somewhere that we're supposed to, I don't know, give our children, I think 12
Yes.
hugs a day. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that means we need about 12 as well too, right? So
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And if we can't find anyone to hug, we hug ourselves,
hug
because
yourself. Yeah,
we hug
exactly.
ourselves. Yeah, absolutely hug ourselves. Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
to save ourselves, right? Because you know, we're the only ones there for ourselves at the end of the day, right? So
Mm, mm,
is there
mm.
anything else, Deepika, that you'd like to say in regards to sort of, any other sort of rituals? I think you mentioned that you sort of, hug yourself in front of the mirror. When my dad, unfortunately, he passed away in 2006. He had cancer. He was very, I felt like, beyond his, years, because obviously these days, we're a lot more into different sort of things to sort of cope and deal with things. And he used to, run a business, so he had a lot of stress, in his life. He worked very long hours, and he used to stand in front of the mirror in the morning after he's brushed his teeth and just smile at the mirror. And I used to be like, Dad, you're freaking crazy. What are you doing? But I think it allowed him to sort of get into that positive mindset, and he was in a place where he could just tackle anything that came his way that day. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's so much value in that, where, because when you look at yourself in the mirror and you make that connection and you look at your eyes, you're literally telling yourself that I see you, I hear you, and I value you, and we've got this, right? And so that
and I'm here
connection can,
for you. Like, yeah,
I'm here
exactly.
for you, right? I'm here for you. And so it's literally you are looking at your soul. And that connection is just really powerful, and it can help you weather any storms really that you may encounter. And the other thing, as Charlotte was mentioning, was just coming back to your breath. We don't have to go anywhere else. Just coming back to our breath, and anchoring ourselves with flat feet on the ground, being connecting. So those little things, if we can start to do them regularly, as and make them our daily rituals, really small practices, and small things have a big impact. The compounding effect of all these things is
That's
beautiful. I know
beautiful.
we're really
That's
over
really
time, so
good.
I'm going to stop here and hand it over to you and Elena.
Oh, thank you. I
Yes,
just thought of,
please, Elena, jump
yes,
in.
thank
Let
you
us
so
know.
much.
I mean, what do you think? Like, what sort of daily
Probably.
Sorry, I think we're just doubling up there. I was just going to say, Elena, what sort of rituals, do you do?
So for me, I'm a big fan of nature. I love nature. Unfortunately, don't have as much time as possible, but I think it's always in the back of my mind. It has to be a daily routine, like Michelle was saying, regardless how cold or windy it is. So I did make an effort today, and I think it's just that 10 minutes walk. For me, I mean, I personally see it as get energized. So if I'm quite low in energy, especially by Friday afternoon, so for me, I just find just fresh air. It regulates your breathing. I think when you're walking, especially, I mean, I'm a very fast walker, and also just change of scenery. So I think that's really important. Sometimes that's when your mind actually relaxes as well. And the other actually little tip that I actually just thought of as well. So if you need a bit of a confidence boost, what's quite interesting, I found it, someone actually shared that with me, and I work with really, really, really experienced people, like barristers and lawyers, and you think they have all the confidence in the world. They've been doing it for years, but they're human, they don't. So a lot of them actually, before a very, what they call a tough conversation or tough, presentation in court, a lot of them actually do a superwoman pose. You literally just stand there, you spread your legs, like a triangle, and you just actually put your hands on your hips, and you just do this, say, I can do this. And I've actually embraced that. As funny as it sounds, it actually helps when you, especially if you've got, you're on the go and you can't really do it, and you actually do that. And it just reminds you that's probably grounding, saying, I'm a human, I'm going to do my best, and I can do this. I've actually done it before. It's funny when you do it first time, because you're thinking, geez, I'm not 5 anymore, but it actually works. So if you need a confidence boost, that superwoman pose works like a charm.
It does. I totally
love
agree.
that.
And I'm
That's
just going
really
to quickly
cool.
say that I worked with I've shared that with a client, and I've had personal experience with my client doing that it definitely is empowering.
That's really, really beautiful, ladies. I'm just going to quickly check the chat bar just to see if we have any questions. We have gone a little bit over time, but we definitely will be downloading the talk and then posting it in the groups and also on our channel. Thank you so much, wonderful ladies, for joining us, for all joining me or us today. I just wanted to say that, it has been a very soul-nourishing conversation, and I think it has been a reminder, for some of us that we have to possibly look at things and not just sweep it under the rug and do something about it. And I think it's not about, letting go is not about giving up. It's about, coming home to our bodies, home to what matters to us, home to what matters to, what really matters to ourselves, not what we, say that, it's important, but what really, like digging deep. And you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. You don't have to be polished to be present. You just need to be you, and I need to be me. And that's more than enough that we can ever, ask for. And I really want to say thank you very much for holding this space together, ladies. I think as women, sometimes we do just take on so much. We in some ways, sometimes I feel like I'm literally actually holding the world on my shoulders. But sometimes we need to let somebody else worry about their part, as Ofra mentioned earlier. And so, I do, what is it? I do me and you do you, right? Sometimes we've got to put the mask on ourselves first.
And do more shaking.
Thank you very much. Yes, I like that shaking. That was really cool.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you, ladies. That's a wrap.
Lovely seeing you, Charlotte.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye, ladies. Thank